Hey, Trey, what's the weather like there?
Okay. It was a storm here. It's a storm here, but let me just introduce the show. All right, everyone. Hello. It's another Wednesday. It's another Wednesday, and we're gonna do another major key boxing with Ring 10 today. Ring 10 boxing Saturday. Somebody has some bad feedback going on in the background. Who's that? Okay. Yeah, we're doing another Ring 10 show today. And in the house today, we have the president, Matt. Help me again with the last name.
Borrego. Borrego.
Friego. Okay.
That's
And
it.
we have the
Close
vice
enough.
president. We have the vice president of top and Walmart boxing. Chop, chop.
Hey, Troy, you breaking up real bad, man.
Okay, we having a little signal issue, but we still gonna get through this. So Matt, why don't you start it off again and tell everybody about Ring 10, and we'll start the show from there.
Ring 10 is a non-for-profit we formed about 10 years ago that helps the indigent fighters, boxers that need help, ex-boxers that need help. Because the problem is baseball, football, basketball, tennis, golf, they're all unions. Boxing is not a union. So when you don't fight, you don't eat. And when the promoter says you're done, he points you to the door and he doesn't ask you to come back. You're done. So there's no help other than Ring 10. There's no help at all on this planet that helps a fighter like Ring 10. And I decided to form this organization so that the fighters, if they need some kind of help, medical, food, whatever else they could need, we try to get it done.
Okay, Matt, thank you. And then Rich, you come in right behind Matt and you give some stories of who the charity has helped out as far as fighters or anybody in boxing. Period.
Right. Well, I jumped on board when I heard about Ring 10 being formed. I jumped on board. I was one of the original members, along with Tyrone Jackson and Richie Burton, former fighter. And we had Harold Letterman, ringside physician Dr. Ralph Bone, cutman Big George Mitchell, boxing writer. May he rest in peace. We had Ron Ross, and many other people that were either involved in boxing. We had former world champions, Junior Jones. We had former world champions and referees. Mark Breland on the board. Harold Weston joined us, and we started getting bigger and bigger. And we were meeting every second Tuesday of every month at a restaurant up in the Bronx on East Tremont Avenue. And over the years, we started to get bigger and bigger. And we had our main fundraiser, our annual gala fundraiser was held every year at the fabulous Marina del Rey in the Bronx, overlooking located right in between the Frog's Neck Bridge and the Whitestone Bridge. And, we raised quite a bit of money and we helped out a lot of fighters over the years. I think we were averaging about 10 fighters a month that Mac was sending gift cards and we were sending checks out to. As I mentioned before, the two
Okay, Rich,
fighters,
can you
the
hold
two
on a
main
second for me,
fighters,
Rich?
yeah,
I'm sorry. Hey, Chop.
Yes.
Chop, you got to mute your mic for me, Chop. You got to mute your mic for me.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, Rich, go ahead.
yeah, the two main fighters that we were helping out right from the get-go were Gerald McClellan and Wilfred Benitez. Gerald, of course, was injured back in 1995 when he fought Nigel Benn in London. He was injured. He had bleeding on the brain and underwent surgery. And Today, he's totally blind and 80% deaf, and his main caregiver is his sister Lisa. She's there for him for the last 26 years, 24 hours a day, taking care of his needs. And Ring 10 has been in his corner for the last 10 years, helping financially. You know, Matt could tell you more about the what he has done to help Lisa McClellan and Gerald McClellan and Wilfred Benitez, of course, was living in Puerto Rico. We don't just help out fighters from New York State. We help out fighters all over the country. Any fighter who needs help, Ring 10 is there for them. And I want to say one thing about Matt. I once mentioned to Matt, I said, Matt, this fighter that we're helping out with a gift card for $125 a month, he was able to put his hands on $15 million in his bank account 12 years ago. Who did he ever help out? And you know what Matt said to me? Matt said, Rich, we're not here to be judgmental. If the guy needs help, Ring 10 will be there for him as long as we're going to be in operation. That was Matt's answer to me. And over the years, that has also been my philosophy. Not to be judgmental. If the fighter is down on his luck and he needs financial help and possibly medical assistance, we're going to be there for him as long as Ring 10 is still functioning.
Thank you, Matt. And Tyrone, jump in here and tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about, how how you've dealt with Ring 10 or how is it, or how the programs helped you out.
Okay, I was a former #1 contender, junior lightweight. I won the New York Golden Gloves, the Intercity Golden Gloves, a whole bunch of tournaments back in New York. I fought for the title 3 times. I fought a guy named Chung Ji-young in Korea. I got stopped in 8. I fought Tony Lopez in Las Vegas. I got stopped in 10. And I fought a guy named Manuel Menteques Diaz. I thought I won that fight. That was another championship fight. So I fought for the title 3 times. So when I got on board, Matt had already, Matt was already in motion through Ring 8, helping out fighters and doing what he was doing when he was the president of Ring 8. I jumped on board when he got to Ring 10. That's when we started from, like, I've been there since day 1 with Ring 10. And I'm telling you, when I say he do miracles, I mean miracles. And I'm not just saying it just to try to make Ring 10 look good, because we are good. But I'm just saying what he does, male and female fighters, it could be Terrell Biggs had a big problem with his furnace in his house. Matt, even though we wasn't even really doing too good, we wasn't getting that many donations, $3,200, boom, right there. Got him a new, whatever he needed to heat his house up. Got it. Other guys that, other small guys that come through every now and then, no questions asked. If Matt got it, here's the kicker. If Matt got it, he's going to give it to you. If Matt ain't got it, he's going to go get the money. I don't know where he gets the money from, but sometimes he gets the money and that person gets what he or she needs. And, we got some big names on there. I don't want to say a lot of the names, but if you go to the website, you'll see a lot of the names of the people that we help. And this is donations that people like yourself and your friends would donate. Now, there's other big organizations out there, like these guys giving out these PPP loans, and you got your congressman and you got your senator. If those guys are serious about helping fighters, like they always been saying for like 150 years, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So when you donate money to other facilities to help football players, basketball players, hockey players, yeah, okay, a lot of them is insured, but then a lot of them end up broke too, but they still find a way to get the help. We just been getting the help from just people like yourself and other people from the streets. How Matt do it sometime, I can't even understand it. It's guys other than Joe McClellan and Wilfredo Benitez that Matt been sending money for 8-9 years every month, non-stop. Now, I'm not trying to say that we the greatest thing to come along, but what we do should be recognized on a big scale, not on a low scale. Like a lot of other, people's out there, like your friend Mr. McDowell. Is your son Mark McDowell?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Marvin,
Yeah,
Marvin.
tell him the Harlem Butcher said hello. Yeah, I used to fight. I was fighting around the time he became world champion. Yeah. So it's a horrendous of good things that we doing, and it's great that you giving us an opportunity to get it out there to the public with the people. I mean, like you do, like that's $1 million thing you just doing right now for us.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I appreciate having the opportunity just to be a part of it. Now, Chop.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me, Chop? Yeah, Chop. Go ahead and tell about your experience with Ring 10 and tell the people about yourself as well. You on mute, Chop. We can't hear you.
Yeah, I think turn on his mic.
Yeah, turn on your mic, Chop.
Yeah, I took it off. This Demarcus Chop Corley, former world champion. I had a great experience with Ring 10. I went to one of the events up in New York, I think it was,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
I got a chance to show my merchandise and be a part of a lot of great champions and see what it was about, helping other fighters give back. And me being a former
George, is that one?
world champion and a fighter still today, we should all help each other at the end of the day.
Yeah, push that button.
Yes, sir. Okay, now Marvin,
Yeah.
I want you to step in here and tell about your charity and just basically, have a conversation kind of like with Matt and Rich and the folks on the panel about how to actually run like a like a nonprofit and how we can improve and grow and all that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm Umar Marvin McDowell. I run the Umar Boxing Youth Development, No Hooks for Books. We're a boxing program with an educational component. And for the past 25 years, while I've been doing my organization, and No Hooks for Books, which means, we have an after school program where we have about a 85% graduation rate. Most of the kids has been in the organization since we started. They get good progress reports. They pass the next grade and they finish high school. And I have a bunch of them that are in college, and they come back and help out. But what helps me out is that I have a great board. I have a very great board, a working board. That we put fundraisers together. We got 2 fundraisers that we raise maybe the lump sum of the money that we need to operate on. And, we get foundations and other organizations that donate to us, because what we do, there's a great need in our community. We do a lot of other things too. We have a food giveaway, for the past 3.5 years, is like where
Hold on a second for me. Yeah, Marvin, sorry for cutting you off. Can everybody mute their mics for me, please? Go ahead, Marvin.
Okay. Yeah, so for the last 3 years, up and down the North Avenue corridor where my program is located at, there's no nutritious markets and stuff like that. You got the bars and you got little fast food restaurants and there's no nutritious food. So for the past 3.5 years, I hooked up with this organization called City Weeds. And every Wednesday for the past 3.5 years, we've been giving away from 1,500 to 2,000 pounds of fresh vegetable and fruit to the community. Anybody, can pick it up. We're in the community, helping the community, doing for the community. For the adults, we have a free yoga class, because a lot of people are unhealthy and they don't know how to relax and breathe, so we provide yoga. For the kids, that we have in our program, we try to show them different things. So we take them horseback riding. You know, it's just we do so much in the community, you know, to help the kids in the community. You know, that's what we live for. And you know, one of my models is to put the guns down, put the gloves up. You know, so we use the boxing as a draw, as an alternative to get the kids off the street. Instead of them using guns, they use their hands. And, you know, then the discipline and the camaraderie that they learn from the boxing, it'll make them a better person, you know, in the community. You know, so, you know, that's what we do. We do a golf tournament to raise money every year. And we have this thing called Boxing for Books, because my board members are builders. So, you know, like when we have the golf tournament, we have over 100 golfers out there, you know, raising money. And when we do the Boxing for Books, organizations and companies that my board members deal with, they come and support, you know, and that's what's been keeping us together. You know, and we have a dynamite boxing program too, you know, so that's what we've been doing for the past 25 years.
Thank you, Marvin. Rich, how can we go about helping Ring 10 to, I guess, grow and just, you know, get some more people involved, or just, you know, how can, yeah, you know, how can we, how can we keep Ring 10 afloat, keep it open and everything else,
Well, I think,
and just get more information out there?
yeah, absolutely. You know, doing a podcast, you know, like we're doing right now, and just getting the word out there and making people aware of Rington, that there is an organization out there who's concerned about the ex-fighters that are down on their luck, and try to get some of the more and more people involved. I would love to see, you know, the big names in the boxing world. I'd love to see Floyd Mayweather get involved with Ring 10, an Oscar De La Hoya, a Bob Arum, Eddie Hearn. I mean, these are guys that they're promoters today, and you know, they're getting wealthy and rich, promoting fighters. And I think it's time to, you know, give back a little bit to the guys that are putting their lives on the line, taking those 3 steps into the ring, and to entertain the fans. And it'd be great if we could get some of these heavy hitters and big name people involved and donating and contributing to an organization like Ring 10, because there really aren't any organizations out there that are helping the fighters like we are. I mean, people might say, well, there's a lot of Hall of Fames. I mean, there are Hall of Fames that are springing up. There are more Hall of Fames right now than there are weeds springing up in my backyard. But these Hall of Fames are not, they're not 501c3s. They're not nonprofits. They bring recognition to the fighters, which is great. You know, they bring recognition. They give them an award. People come out, they meet the fighters, but none of these Hall of Fames are actually helping any of the fighters. None that I know of. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know of any Hall of Fames that are helping any fighters. You know,
right now, Matt,
a show like this definitely will make people aware that somebody like Gerald McClellan and Wilfred Benitez, who's now, I think, living in Chicago, because he's getting better help there than in Puerto Rico. We really got to get the word out there and get more people involved and aware that there is an organization like Ring 10 that offers help. You know,
how do you promote your organization? Do you have a Facebook page?
Yeah, no, we have a website, with Facebook page, website, advertisements, emails. But the website draws a lot of people to it when people search a ring organization. But honestly, not too many people are that interested in they're interested in the boxers when they're active, but when they retire, they don't like to see what's left of them. And that's the sad part. When people say, oh, you remember that fighter? Oh, he was a great fighter. He made a lot of money. Well, probably 80% of them are homeless or broke or in bad shape mentally and suffering from CTE like the football players. But
Right.
people don't want to. They don't want to see what's behind the curtain. They just want to see the fighters walk out to the ring, and when they leave, they don't want anything to do with them. And that's the bad part of the sport.
Right.
Right now, Tyrone and Chop, man, do you have anything you want to add on to this on how we can help, Ring 10 grow? And Matt, Matt, Marvin said a lot. Did you hear anything
I
that you could
did.
actually, huh? Did you
I
hear me?
did. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, right. When Marvin was speaking, did you hear anything that we could probably use from Marvin, to help our Ring 10?
Listen. I've spoken to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fighters, young, old, middle, and we've evolved into what we are now. Honestly, we've changed a lot in the last 10 years. Nothing's set in stone, so we evolved in 10 years to where we are now. Can we come up with a better idea? I would love to hear it. But if it's the same old idea, then it's the same old thing. Well, we're pretty well set as far as what we need to do. The problem is the sport doesn't care about the fighters after they're done, after they're retired. So it's hard getting money, for donated to Ring 10. If people do want to donate, if they go to ring10.org, they'll see it and they can donate, and we're legitimate write-off. We're a 501c3. So it's a legal write-off for a donation.
Well, why can't we hold these ex-fighters accountable and give back? Why can't we? I know we can't make them do it, but we can put them in a situation, where they can get into giving back.
Well, that's
Because
who would do that? The guys that made money. There's only few of them, like Mayweather and some of the big names made money. The majority of fighters don't make a lot of money. They don't.
They don't. They
And
don't.
right, and the few
but
of them
what I'm
that
saying,
do,
what about the promoters? It should be a fun setup.
yeah,
They
okay,
tried that before. They tried that in California,
yeah,
and we just
Union,
didn't get
yeah,
enough fighters to pitch in,
Fine
because
to it.
remember, you're just a private entity when you're a fighter. You're not a corporation. You're just one person. So that's why it's hard to make you. That's why it's hard to get a boxing union, because you're just an individual. You do your own thing. You make your own thoughts
it
up. You
can be
pick your
done.
own fight.
Tyrone, it can be done. It will be done. It will be done. Just like other sports, like tennis is an individual sport. Yet the golf is a PGA,
Yeah,
professional
but
golf.
that's been from day one. We so far
Yeah,
ahead of the game right now.
I
It's it's,
understand.
it's going to be hard to go back, because who gets the money? Does the people that's not living get the money? Does the people
You're right.
before the big names get the money? Like like you don't want to leave nobody out from not getting something. But
Right.
the
Right. But
most
you know what it
important
sounds
thing.
like to me? No, but you know what I'm hearing? I
Yeah.
hear I hear that we have the why as to why that we should help these boxers,
Yeah.
but we don't have the how.
Right.
Yeah,
We don't
that's
have
the
the
how.
how as to how to
Yeah,
help them.
And it sounds
how.
like
So
it sound like we
right. So how do you go
overthinking the
about getting the how?
situation. We giving
Yeah.
answers before we can get answers.
That's
Mhm.
right. And Chop, you could jump in here as well, Chop.
All right. Some I'm working on. I'm flying back to the East Coast next week, and I have a meeting with a gym off of 14th and U Street. They want me to come back and start doing boxing fitness classes to help older people, not just a fighter, but help older people work out and eat right and lose weight, because I've been maintaining my weight for the last 25 years, 140 pounds. And it's a resume that I work on. I eat right and I know how to eat. And I want to
Troy, I
help.
might add that Chop Chop is a great little chef. I've watched him on Facebook, and he's always in the kitchen whipping up some healthy meals for his kids. And I think Chop's nickname is Chef Boyardee.
Yeah. Chop, you were breaking up. Did you hear that from Rich? Did you hear what Rich said, Chop?
It looks like he's
I think
frozen.
Chop might. Okay.
Well, Troy, listen, back to
Okay,
the
but go.
point. Troy,
Yeah, yeah.
the most important thing is what do we do about the Xboxes, the fighters who are retired and are suffering from CTE, the same as football. What do we do with them, and what do we do with educating and preparing the young fighters for when they retire? And that's really what it comes down to. Now, who's responsible? Is it the promoters? Is it the TV networks? HBO backed off. You know that, right? HBO does not do boxing anymore because they know the connection between head trauma and CTE. They want no part of that anymore. That's why they stopped about 3 years ago. So what
I heard.
is the sport going to do to continue? There has to be political backing for this sport to continue the right way.
Well, Matt. I don't personally think we should focus on who's responsible. We should focus on the how first, because we have the why
Yeah,
already, and we
I
have the
agree.
how, and then after that, we could get to the what. But I think if we come up with a plan as to how we could get these things done, how we could get help, then we could deal with everything else, because everything else will fall into place once you have that how, because the how is your foundation, right?
Yeah.
And you build up from there. So I'm going to pass that around the panel and see if I get some thoughts on the how. How do we build something that people would actually say, okay, I want to give to it because it's a righteous cause. Like, Ring 10 is a righteous cause, but people are leery of charities for whatever reason. But since we know the how do we promote and push the how out there so we could get help? Anybody?
I got a way. Well, I have a thought that I want to work on. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, Chop.
I heard y'all mention guns down, gloves up, right? We can go to the community where these young kids are and get the police involved, where we can put on an event. If you have a problem, we're gonna host an event where you settle in the ring. You put the guns down and put the gloves on, and y'all do a little exhibition match. And we raise money, and the money can go to Ring 10 and other charities as well. Because social media is so big, everybody will come out and support if there is some guy who had over 100,000 followers on their page.
Yeah, it sounds like a good thought. Marvin is doing something similar like that, but Bruce Goals has a good question. He wants to know if former fighters actually get a Social Security. Do they?
No.
No.
A
They
former
don't?
fighter gets nothing. He gets no benefits, no health insurance. He gets no retirement fund. There's nothing for an ex-boxer. Nobody puts into anything, and nobody gets anything out.
That's a good place to start then. What
That
do y'all
would
think
be.
about that? That's
That
a good
would be.
place to start. That's a
Wow.
good place to start. Any thoughts? Any thoughts on that? Anybody? Marvin, Rich, Tyrone.
I think
Chuck.
I think if you do fight, you do have to pay some type of taxes. So
Yeah, you
that
do.
SSI, that Social Security, should follow you through. You know, calculate how many years that you fight. So if you fought,
Yeah.
let's say 17 years, you should have 17 years worth of Social Security waiting for you.
Right.
That's some type of insurance right there.
That's not how Social Security works. It's a percentage of what you put in. So you could fight for 17 years, but you could fight one time a year, and you could fight for 17 years. And so what are you qualified? What did you put in that Social Security is going to give you back? Like if you have a
That
job
depends
in
on.
the grocery store, you pay every week, every month. You pay the Social Security over 10, 15, 20 years. A fighter
Yeah,
fights one time a year, 5 times a year. And they take out Social Security, which is minimal amount.
yeah. But like I said, it's something. It's like, I mean, if you're a resident of the United States, you got to get some type of Social Security, even if you never did fight. You at least get 300-400. You get something. It's not a lot, but you'll get something. But let's get back to the boxers. If the boxers, mainly the big winners that get the big money, if they could figure a way how to help with the smaller fighters that's never going to make big money, that's like, that's what we're looking for. Like, how could that work to make sure that everybody is compensated at the end of their career? I mean, that's like,
Yeah, because because I honestly, I assume that they got Social Security because they get a check after the fight, right?
yes, that's the way
And
what I was
taxes
thinking.
come out of there,
Yes,
right? Don't
yes,
they
No,
take
they're
out taxes and
individual
everything?
contractors. They're independent
Right.
contractors. They need to pay their own Social Security. So at the end of the year, they have an
Okay.
accountant that should take it out. But like
yeah.
Madison Square Garden, they only pay you they pay the gross complete money. You pay $10,000. They give you $10,000. You split it up in your manager, your trainer, your cut man, and then you are responsible to pay your own taxes. That's your responsibility. So they don't take anything out for Social Security or anything else like that. That's your job as an individual contractor. I've been through this many times
Right. Because that was my thought,
with
Matt.
attorneys.
That was my thought. Since they're
Yep.
paying taxes, even if they have to get somebody to help them do it, they're still paying taxes and they still get, Social Security taken out. So how come at the end of their careers they don't get Social Security?
Because a
Because
lot
they
of them
didn't make
don't
any
pay
That's
their
the
money.
taxes.
confusion.
A lot of them don't pay their taxes.
Yeah.
Right, because they don't realize that they need to pay taxes, even though they're getting paid in gross at the time of the fight. The tax man's going to come to them at the end of the year and say, "You owe me taxes." And on top of that, not many fighters make a lot of money. People think they're skewed because Mayweather makes, what does he make, 10, $20 million a fight, or Pacquiao makes 10, $20 million a fight. So the little guys in the little club shows should be making a couple $100,000 a fight, when in fact they're not. They're making nothing, relatively nothing.
$10,000,
Relatively.
$200 or something like that.
What's that?
they
How
might
much are they
make
making, Marvin?
12,000. It ain't no money.
They're not making money, right? They're not making money. And I don't want to talk about my career, but I would say my biggest payday was $5,000 in my life, and that was in 13 years of boxing. My biggest payday was $5,000. I don't think that's going to carry me. And that was one fight, and that was the biggest payday. So how long is that really going to carry me? And then I had to pay taxes at the
Right.
end of the year. People don't realize the difference between the Mayweathers, and then it drops down to the low-level boxers that are filling the show, and they get used, they get abused, and they lose them. That's the job of the promoter. Get rid of them.
And
Yeah.
98% of fighters don't make any money. You only got 2%, two on the very top are making, Canelo Alvarez has got a contract with Matchroom. What is it, 10 fights, $300 million? Maybe we could get Canelo to contribute some money towards some fighters that are down and out.
Why should he? Why should he?
Well,
It'd
out
be
of the
nice if he
goodness,
did,
out
but
of,
That's
I'm just asking, why should he? Why should he have to? Why shouldn't the main fighters carry the sport? I mean, it's nice if they would. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it's not mandatory. Mandatory is they pay their promoter, the manager, the trainer, the cut man, and the taxes. What do you mean I got to carry the rest of the sport too? If I want to donate, that's fine. But how do you make it mandatory that just because you made a lot of money, you have to give back? And
no, I'm
don't we
saying,
know a former middleweight that made a lot of money and ended up broke and homeless? Rich, don't we know a middleweight champion of the world that beat Tommy Hearns that made a lot of money and ended up homeless and broke until
yes,
LinkedIn helped him out?
right? It would be
well,
nice.
yeah. Well,
It
that's why
certainly
you
would be.
We're still here. I see what's going on, but I'm still here.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's why you started like with Ring 10, you started and see if you could get fighters. No, you go and do the Social Security thing that we spoke about. We get like the Social Security, and then with the taxes from everybody's check, as far as fight promoters and managers, if we could get like 3 to 5% put aside, and stuff like for retired, that'll help in the future, wouldn't it?
I mean, it might help, but promoters, the few promoters that are the big time, the Don Kings and the Bob Arams, I'm sure they make a nice living off the fighters. Unless you make it mandatory, they're not going to kick money out of their own pocket. They're just not going to. And unfortunately, this is not a consistent sport. Like baseball is, a certain amount of games a year, and it's got a season. Boxing comes and goes. And unless you got a Mike Tyson that's drawing millions of people, the sport's, in a quiet mode like it is now. We don't have a Mike Tyson that's stimulating it, So unfortunately, it's in a real bad financial position right now.
Hold on. Yeah, but fights also build a whole lot of. When Mike was president, everybody fooled. He put on a lot of.
Troy, I couldn't hear anything you said.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, now.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Hear you, yeah.
Okay, right. What I was saying is that cards actually make the sport. Like if you have a great card, you can make a lot of money for the sport. So why can't you get a certain percentage of that card at the end of the night? Just say, okay, why don't you donate like 5% of that card to the charity, or 10%, or whatever the case may be,
right?
And that'll help out the charity. That also help out you in the future, because if any of your fighters fall on hard times, then they'll have something to help them out at the end of the day.
That sounds good, but it's not consistent because boxing is not a consistent sport. It comes and goes whenever it wants to, right? When was the last time you saw a fight on HBO or ESPN or USA? When was the last time you saw a fight on that? Not MMA. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about boxing. Right now it's
That's right, but how do?
Yep.
Go ahead and finish your thought. I'm sorry.
So it's not a consistent sport, and like I said, we don't have the draw of a Mike Tyson right now. So boxing's in the worst state that has been in a very long time, because we went from Muhammad Ali's into the Fraziers and Nortons, and then Mike Tyson came along, and then the sport kind of died down when he left the sport. But then you can't ask, if I was Mike Tyson, I'm like, why do I got to carry the whole sport? Why is that my job? I'm making my own money. They're paying me what I'm worth. Why do I have to carry the sport? And that's the problem, is the sport doesn't carry itself. And you can't depend on one fighter to do it. There's no union, so there's no benefits. There's no consistency. There's nobody watching out. There's no health insurance. There's no health care, and there's no retirement plan. So really, this sport of boxing is use them, abuse them, and then lose them. That's the rule of boxing.
And most importantly, is nobody out there that's driving this point home. We have this podcast right now that we talk about this, and we push that agenda. But I think we should get the word out there a little bit more. And I also think boxing should get back on free TV on like Saturday afternoons. Remember when we had, yeah. That's how I found out about a lot of fighters when I was coming up, right? Because they always had a story first and then the fight. So if we could push that agenda.
But back then, fighters fought everybody. Now these fighters don't want to fight each other. They want to.
Those are the ones that are at a certain level, Tyrone. But what you do is you get matchmakers who know how to match people up, and you take the guys that are at maybe like a lower level who actually can fight and actually want to fight, and you make that happen, man. Because I got this simple motto that I live by. Some will, some won't. So what? You know, because you can't always depend on the ones that won't. You know, you got to find the ones that will, right?
Yeah,
Right.
Yes.
And
but
you know
then
that's
but then but then you have the promoters who want to control their fighter. I don't want you to fight him because he's a dangerous fighter. That's not a good fight for you.
well,
Hey,
well.
hey,
Again, you got to
Troy. Hey,
find those that are
Troy.
free agents. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna ask you one question, and I think you're gonna answer it exactly the way I want you to. Troy, tell me who the heavyweight champion in the world is right now.
Who isn't?
No, no, no. I'm asking
It's
you. Who's the heavyweight champion in the world?
Joshua.
Is he one of them? When was the last time he fought?
Yeah, he
When was the last time he fought?
was it 2 months ago or was it a year ago? I don't really remember.
A year ago? You're the heavyweight
I don't
champion in the
remember.
world. You fought a year
I
ago?
don't. I don't remember, brother. That's the thing. It has to be a few
It's
months
been
I
about a
ago.
know,
year.
I know. You know what?
Now,
It's
has
been
it
about
been
a
a
year.
year?
There
It's
must
been
be
about a
about
year.
5 or 6 heavyweight champions of the world, and ask anybody in the public who it is, and they probably say maybe it's Mike Tyson or I don't know, Joe Louis. They don't know. They don't know. That's the heavyweight champion in the world, right? There are also other 12 weight classes, plus the junior weight classes. So right now is a tough time for the sport of boxing, and unfortunately, the fighters of the 70s and 80s and 90s are suffering, and they're suffering from the same disease as the football players, except they get no help and no recognition because they're only punchy.
I understand, man, but I think we should focus on the things that we can actually do something about that are actually help the charity and so forth. So we can't do anything about the heavyweight division, can't do
Right.
anything about a lot of people, but I guarantee that there's some things that we could do might be on a smaller scale. But if you put all those small things together, that'll get the ball rolling, and then you can get more help for the charity and get more help for the fight in the future.
That'd be
I
great.
can't.
That would be great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Because we can't change anything that's going on with like the sanctioning bodies at the moment. We can't make
Right.
anybody pay any money at the moment. But what you can do is build something, or something that'll have people pay more attention to people. Ring 10 could be something as simple as just going out more and spreading the word more and getting
I
people to
agree.
ask questions. What is Ring 10? And go
Yep.
from there, and boom, and that'll get started. I mean, honestly, I know behind closed doors, I'm not going to tell our personal business. I've volunteered to do some footwork for you, and I'll be more than happy to do the footwork.
Yep.
That's no problem for me, right?
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
a big enough mouth. I know enough people, and and I know some people that might be in TV and all that. We could probably do something like that, just ball rolling. But we don't have any power to change anything big right now. But the small things is what lead to big things.
That's right.
And yeah,
I'm all
I was
for
just
that. I'm all
thinking
for that.
we raise maybe 95% of our funds throughout one main event that we have yearly, our gala, our fundraiser. It'd be great if we could put on maybe 2 or 3 fundraising events during the year to bring in more money. That's an idea,
and
Matt.
That's an idea, but Richard, you know how much work it takes. It's you know what? If there was a salary involved and a guy could focus on it, that'd be fantastic. And if you can count on that money coming in every single quarter, that would be fantastic. That really would be.
Another
okay, also,
another thing,
mhm.
another thing, Troy, is that many people, boxing fans, are going to come out and pay $135 a ticket because they want to meet a celebrity. They want to take a photograph with a present world champion. They'd like to get a glove autographed or a photograph autographed, and it gets harder and harder, to get these big name celebrities to come, and that they're willing to volunteer their time. Some of the top name guys in the sport, they're asking for astronomical fees to attend an event. Some may be asking 5,000, 6,000, 8,000. we're a 501c3. We're a nonprofit. You know, we
Yeah, well,
can't
Rich.
afford to give a celebrity $10,000 when we're raising maybe $28,000 for our event.
Okay, now,
So it
Rich,
gets
you know that's
difficult.
well, Rich. That's why you work with a gentleman that's right below you, Chop Chop. Now, I know he's gonna ask for something, but he's not gonna break the bank. And I know he knows people that's actually been in the sport. So you know I'm sure it's for a good cause. He can get somebody. You know, Chop Chop will come out. You know, Chop Chop being some of his friends that used to be in boxing. You know, he'll just have to explain that. Look, man, we're not gonna make a lot of money doing this, but we are helping others out, and we are gonna make a little something. But the main thing is to help something out. And look at this, right? It works both ways. Chop could sign the gloves. Chop could promote his cooking and all that, and the other boxers could come in and you know and do their thing as well, right, Chop?
Yeah, I can get Randall Bailey to come aboard. We both fought each other.
There you go.
I can
Chop
call
chop.
Vivian Hers. Go ahead.
Man, you better save them names and don't let nobody steal them from you, Chop. You know, save them names. Save them names.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay, but listen. You know, we have Mr. Bruce Goals that's jumped on. He's been asking a lot of great questions in the chat. So go ahead, Bruce. I know
Yeah,
you might have a
bros.
question for someone on the panel. So go ahead.
Yeah, bros, man. My heart goes out to all the ex-fighters, man. You know, really, it's a shame what they're going through. But it's a fact that every American with a Social Security card is eligible for Social Security. You know, when they retire, whether it be before 65 or not. So I mean, there are lawyers that you can get, internet lawyers that will do your whole case for you, and you know they get one check after it's processed. It usually takes maybe 3 months or so, but there is money available, through the government for these fighters who have Social Security cards. There really is. You know, I personally, I had to go bankrupt, and that helped me get Social Security. So, it is available, and it should really be looked into a little closer. And man, I would love to help your organization out, man, any way I can, man.
I appreciate that. But you got to remember, too, they're not getting Social Security until they're a certain age. So a fighter retires at maybe, 28, 30 years old. He's not getting Social Security for 30 years. He
Well,
doesn't
no,
just apply
that's not
and live.
necessarily true, because
No?
see what would happen is if they were declared 100% eligible, because of a disability.
Disability. That's
Yeah,
different. That's not Social Security. That's
no,
disability.
SSDI and SSI.
SSID, right.
Yeah,
Yep.
and in fact, SSI is actually a good way to go, because these lawyers will know much more about that than I do. But there are options. So no American should not have a check coming in once they retire and they have a Social Security card. I just really want to stress that.
I see the point. Yes, that's a little bit more clear. Yeah, there is SSID. There is help out there. You're going to have to go through medical examinations and everything else to prove that you are a disability, and it's been caused by the boxing, which is true. The majority of fighters are suffering from head trauma after their careers are over. So that's
Yeah, they
not
don't
disputed.
they don't make it easy for you, no doubt about that. But see, that's
Right.
where groups like yours would come in to advocate for these people. And like I said, there are internet law firms that take these cases on. So all you really do have to do is get that physical, and maybe appear before a Social Security hearing. But it's so available, and it really is a shame if it's not taken advantage of by these fighters who deserve it more than anything.
A lot of the
I
fighters
agree
don't
with
know
that.
about it.
I know, and that's why it's good for us to do platforms like this where the word gets out.
The word gets
Yeah.
out. Right. We do that. A
And I'll
lot of
keep
people, a
doing
lot
it.
of fighters
I will
call
keep
Ring
doing
10
it.
for help, and that's the best thing that happens. Is I get calls all the time from fighters that need help, and once I help them with immediate, whether it's their rent or something's behind or a food card, then I say, listen, you need to speak to. We used to have a lawyer that worked with us and took care of it right away, just by the guy's name. Unfortunately, he passed away, so I'm looking for another attorney to help us, at no funds, and help us with the fighters. When I send them the fighters to get them through the SSID forms, there is kind of help. But you also have to go through an examination and prove that you have a disability and it's caused by the sport or your employment, which was boxing.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. And there are actually law firms out there who do nothing but get benefits for people who with disabilities or early retirement who were denied on their first attempt. There are lawyers out there, and that's all these people do. And there's no fee up front. It's all done on consignment. It just has to be initiated because, like I said, the government doesn't care if we live or if we die. We have to be our own advocates, and if we can't do it, it's great for organizations like yours to like. And then, like you said, man, you need a full belly first. That's the whole thing. You can't go and stand in line if you don't have a stomach full. So it's such a grassroots organization, and I hear you, brother. My heart goes out to you, and everything you're saying is 100% right there, man. Because it has to go from the first meal to the first check. It's a whole chain.
Yeah.
Okay, now Matt and Rich, why don't you tell some stories that of how Ring 10 actually helped some people that actually amazed you. Just tell the power of being positive, with the program that actually turned some people's lives around.
Well, I got a story that is hard to believe. I think most people would say that if this was a Hollywood movie, it would be hard to comprehend and believe it. But I got a call from a fighter. He's from his name was Clive Atwell. He's from the country of Guyana. That's right on the top of South America, it's near Venezuela. It's the only country in South America where the official language is English. And he reached out to a friend of mine, Anthony Bongiorni, who runs the Floyd Patterson gym up in, I believe it's up in Newburgh area on the other side of the Hudson River. He runs the gym with Tracy Harris Patterson, Floyd's adopted son. And he reached out to Anthony Bongiorni, and Anthony gave him my phone number. He called me up one evening, and he told me that he was a professional boxer. He was fighting down in Mexico, and he lost the fight. He was injured, and he had bleeding on the brain, and he had to undergo surgery in his country. His country performed a surgery where they had to remove a section of his skull. They had to remove a piece of bone from his skull in order to relieve pressure on the brain. And somehow the piece of skull was discarded, and all they were able to do was close up the opening in the skull with a flap of skin from his scalp. And I told him, well, why don't you come to our Ring 10 meeting? We're happening to meet. We'll be meeting tomorrow evening. Why don't you come with your wife, and I'll introduce you. And he came. He showed up with his wife and another woman. I introduced him, and he got up, and he told the members that were there that night what had happened. And make a long story short, at the end of the meeting, we walked out to the parking lot at Reno's restaurant on East Tremont Avenue in the Bronx, and Matt went to his automobile. He popped the trunk, and he took out a cardboard box that contained a mesh. And Matt showed him, he says, this is the type of mesh that the surgeons would use to fill in that section of skull that's missing. And long story short, Matt set up the entire surgery. He had the surgery performed pro bono, and the kid came to the United States to raise $25,000 because that's what he needed to have the surgery done. And that's how someone gave him my number. He reached out to me, and it didn't cost him a cent out of his pocket. Matt set the entire surgery up pro bono. But I mean, tell somebody that story, that Matt would have that mesh in the trunk of his car. I mean,
what are the odds of that?
1 in 10 million.
What are the odds of that happening, right?
That's right, Matt. And you jump on and you tell a story that actually changed your life based on they help procreate somebody.
I got a good one with Matt.
Okay, Tyrone. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Now, one time it was a lady, and her brother was a fighter. Brother, I think, fought around in the 30s or the 40s. He's a good club fighter. And, they just was like, throwing him in with all types of, good fighters. So I don't know if the guy needed money or whatever, but he would go in there and he would fight. Fight. He passed away in a fight. And the sister and them didn't have enough money to get him a headstone. So they just buried him, and it was almost like they just forgot about him. About 60, 70 years. The lady called Matt. Now, I can't remember the whole story, but I know he called Matt, and Matt, she found us on a website that we help fighters. Now, her brother was a fighter, like I say, like 50, 60 years ago, but he was buried without a headstone. So she asked Matt, could he get a headstone? Matt said, no problem. What he did, got around 9, 10 guys, went to the funeral place. Went to to where the guy was buried, had a nice ceremony, got the headstone, put the headstone there for the sister. The sister, you have no idea how the family reacted to what Matt did that day. Well, he could have just said, "Oh, well, we don't do that. We only do that for fighters that's living." But here's a guy, I can't remember his name. Matt probably tell you his name. But here's a guy,
Ray Bonte.
Yeah, Ray Bonte. And that's just one story of many.
Yeah.
Right. Ray was 24 years old. He passed away after his 4th pro fight, and he was buried in a cemetery in Queens, off of it was off of the Long Island Expressway near Utopia Parkway. I know because it was right a block away from Francis Lewis High School where I taught for about 5 years. And,
Rich, did he die in the ring, or what happened to the brother? What happened?
No. He was injured. He died later on after the 4th bout pro fight. And he was buried in an unmarked cemetery, an unmarked grave for 70 some odd years.
Yeah.
People would walk by. There was no headstone. You didn't know that there was someone buried there.
70 years. He was sitting in the hole for 70 years with not a gravestone, not a marker on his grave.
And we got a headstone. We got a priest. We had about 25 members of Ring 10 show up with the family, and the priest did a ceremony, and he was, he was, it was closure. There was closure and dignity for the family.
Yeah.
Very emotional, a very emotional situation.
Wow. Okay. You know what, gentlemen? I appreciate your time. It's coming up on the 1 hour mark. I know we spoke about that, and I want everybody to give their closing thoughts. I didn't forget about you, Chop, because I'm gonna come around to you and ask you the same question about Ring 10, and you could give your closing thoughts as well. So I'm gonna start with Chop to tell his story about Ring 10 and give his closing thoughts, and then you, Tyrone, and then you, Rich, and then Matt's gonna take us home. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Chop.
Yeah, my thoughts on Ring 10 is a great program. I would love to be more involved in it. And if anything I can do to help, you all have my number. If you don't have my number, you can reach me on Facebook and Instagram. My number is 702-267-7523.
Hold on, Chop. Hold on. Yeah. I was gonna tell you not to put your number out. You're gonna get a bunch of calls from who knows who. Yeah. I'll give Matt your number, Chop. I'll give Matt and Rich your number. But go ahead and finish your thoughts, Chop.
Yeah, we need to try to really form some type of union or something to help the fighters that are not fighting no more who need help. And the only way I think we can do that is continue to reach out to these other young fighters and educate them. They're going to be in this situation one day if we don't address it right away.
All right, Tyrone.
Okay, well, I would love for the U.S. Congress or the Senate, somebody that that goes around giving out money to worthy causes like ours. And if we had to do some type of legislation to help us get money monthly, because what we do for the fighters is almost like it's not like charity business. It's like we're there for the fighters. Like we're an organization that strives on making sure that women and men boxers are taken care of. That's what I want to happen.
Okay. And Bruce, you want to give your final thoughts before we close it
Yeah,
out?
man. Yeah, I appreciate you giving me your time. I'm going to be getting in touch with you at ring10.org, and you know, it's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease around here, and man, these boxes have to be taken care of, man, from the ground on up, man. So God bless what you're doing, and I'm going to be in touch and do what I can to help you out. Please.
Thank you. Rich, I don't know if you're still here or Matt, because I think one of y'all fell off and one of your screamers
Yeah, I
like,
fell off.
huh?
I'm still on verbally, but I
Okay,
can't
Matt.
see.
Okay, go ahead and give your final. Hold on a second. Rich, there you go, Rich. Go ahead and give your
Yeah.
final thoughts. We'll close it out with Matt.
Well, we just have to try to make people aware and get the word out there. It would be great if we could get some big names sponsored, as Tyrone said. If we can get the government involved, with some kind of donation
Yes.
earmarked for helping the fighters, that would be great. I mean, we spend millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars overseas. I mean, we certainly should be able to send some money to help out our own fighters that are down and out, in our own country. It would just be great if we could get some big name donations that would help us out.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I agree. And Matt, go ahead
Yeah.
and take us home, man.
Um, Listen, it's an uphill battle. I know that, and people think that all fighters make millions and hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is so not true, and people just don't appreciate. They love them when they're in the ring, and they appreciate them when they're bleeding and they're fighting their hearts out. But once they leave the ring, there's nothing, no benefits. There's no help for them, and people forget who they are months after the last time they leave the ring. People forget who they are. Oh yeah, I remember him. Yeah. Whatever happened to him? Well, he's homeless, and he's got CTE. He's got head trauma, and he can barely speak anymore. And people are blown away, and then they go back to their coffee and they totally forget. So if it wasn't for Ring 10, they'd have no help out there. And if there's a way, if anybody thinks of a way that we could solve the problem, I would love to hear it. And ring10.org, send me an email.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to say again, I appreciate your time, gentlemen. I appreciate the fact that there is this charity that helps boxers out. And we're gonna keep doing this and keep growing. And I'd like to say thank you for everyone that came out in the chat. And also, I'm gonna close out with this. I've been around social media for, a few years. People love the drama and the soap opera nonsense, but this right here is something real. This
Yeah.
right
This.
here,
Yeah.
when it comes to Ring 10, this
Yeah.
helps out. This helps out people in need. This actually helps out your favorite fighter's fighter who might not
Yeah.
be fighting anymore.
Yeah.
So this should be something that's actually blown up and carried and spoke about more often, just like the nonsense and the drama that spoke about every blasted damn day, right?
Yes.
And
Yep.
Yes.
because because
Yes.
this yeah,
Yes.
yeah, because this could change lives. All that other nonsense that we talk about and getting arguments with every other day can't change a damn thing. But
No.
this can. This
No.
can. I'm gonna just leave y'all with saying that. Say God bless. And gentlemen, I see you next week. Tyrone, I'm gonna call you because I want you to stay
Okay.
on with us, all right?
All
I want you
right.
to come back next week, all right?
Okay. Oh, I definitely be here. I just want to say
All
thank
right.
you for giving us this opportunity that nobody else did. I mean, I really
hmm
appreciate what you're doing.
Well, thank you, and thank Matt and Rich. I want to thank Major Key for the platform because we on his platform. So thank him as well, right? Chop, hey, like I said, your family, you're welcome any single time you want to come on, man. If you want to bring a friend, and that friend brings a friend, we'll be more than happy to have you, man. All right.
Okay, sounds
All right,
good.
great,
I'll
man.
get some good fighters.
All
We got to
right, and
keep on punching, Troy. We got to keep on punching, Troy. As long as we're throwing our hands, we got a good chance of winning the fight.
all right, and and honestly, I feel that there's a lot of help. I'm gonna talk to you about that on the back end because I'm really in a place where I'm gonna say something I shouldn't say. So everybody have a blessed day and thank you. A blessed night, blessed day, blessed life. Thank you again. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Troy.
you.
All right.
Thank you, Troy.
All right.
Have a good night.
All right, you too.